In this video, I'll take you through how I built a membership business in Notion. This process will allow you to take any of the revision notes that you make for exams and to sell them online. It's a win-win, you see. So your users benefit from notes that took you literally hundreds of hours to make, and you benefit by a little bit of extra money on the side. We'll start with how I built the notes while I was revising. So I gave them a very clear structure that would allow other people to follow them even though they hadn't written them themselves. And then we'll go into the practicalities of how I transformed the Notion page into a website. Then we'll add the final layer, which is to build a members-only area within the website and get paying members onto it. Feel free to skip around to what interests you most. I hope that talking through this process will allow you to repurpose some of your old notes that would otherwise have just been gathering dust. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
This history in the making. Hometown legend from the basement. Feel the bass groove from the top down. Came to free the people on lockdown. Let me show you how I do this. No AC, we the coolest.
I've been using Notion for years now, and I'm insanely excited to say that they are sponsoring this video. I find it surreal because I'd literally sing their praise on a day-to-day basis anyway, but we'll go with it. So anyway, let's start out with how I built the notes. My personal Notion journey started a few years ago when I was completely overwhelmed in med school. I saw this video by Ali Abdaal and it had a huge impact on both building my confidence and my knowledge for my exams. Classifying each topic by the anatomy allowed me to simplify a complex system like the lungs into smaller, more manageable chunks. By using Notion's toggle function, you can then place the next layer of organization within that. I ended up with literally like 6 or 7 layers just classifying these topics, but it really helped me to make sense of everything in my head. The other aspect that I built in was active recall. You see, phrasing each topic as a question and then hiding the answers underneath forced me to try and, let's be honest, most often fail to recall the answers. Building this out for each topic was a ridiculously long process, but it helped me to build the confidence for exams, and I'm so glad to say that I passed them. But afterwards, I was left with this huge resource of questions and topics, and I was really proud of it, but it went completely unused. So why waste this resource and just allow it to gather dust? I would have loved to have a resource like this at my fingertips, so why not provide it to others now that I've made it? That's where I had the idea of building it into a website. My hope was that maybe it could be useful to a few students who learn in a similar way to me. I started off by using the share to web function on Notion, but while that's a great tool for collaborating in a team, it doesn't really allow you to build a full functioning website, and that's what I really wanted to do. Then, when falling down a Twitter rabbit hole, I came across this website called Super. See, I've tried coding before, and everything I wrote was somehow wrong. I'd get to the end of an 8-hour session with only like 1 line of working code and literally wanted to hit my head on the desk. So, not good. With Super, it made this process so much easier. So here's what I did. Firstly, I chose a theme. I went for Ether because it had this left-sided navigation bar, and I always find it easier to jump between different notes when the toolbar's on the left-hand side. So then I used the Notion tools to make the site look pretty, and this is definitely my favorite part. So I put all the structure of the site in, and then used Notion's blocks options to keep the pages looking really interesting with lots of different elements. I particularly like, obviously, the toggle block, which is a lifesaver, but also the quotes and the buttons that you can put into the Super sites using Notion. Finally, I plugged in the URL of my Notion page into Super, and the theme does its magic. It applies some pretty formatting, and I was very happy with the finished product. So I needed a name and a logo for the site, and I went a little bit rogue with my choice. So it's a slight tangent, but just stay with me here. When I go to a bookshop, I'm always drawn by the subtle art of not giving a f***. Mainly because I'm just like, how is there a book with f*** written on the front cover on this bookshelf? So I wanted that same shock factor, so I called it Don't F*** Finals. When I went into Illustrator, I initially designed this logo, but then over time I started to hate it. I really like a clean aesthetic, so I've now changed it to this. One of the most important parts of this for me was getting feedback on the site. So I sent the link to friends and family, and they were then able to comment on the bits that they weren't too sure on and change some phrasings to make things much clearer. Collaborating in Notion makes things so easy. And that leads us to our final step, converting the website into a business. Once I had the site all laid out and finished, I wasn't sure if it was even possible to convert that into a membership. I searched it on Google and came across this site called MemberSpace. It turns out my initial thought that this would be pretty difficult was actually wrong. With MemberSpace, I just had to do a couple of steps. Firstly was to decide how I wanted to structure the plans. So I split them into medicine and surgery and then an all-access plan that includes access to all of the medical specialties. Next, you just need to choose which pages you want to limit so that only paying members can see them. MemberSpace literally does all the rest. It just has this pop-up that asks you to log in when someone tries to click on one of those pages you just protected. And then they can also go through to the payment process if they want to get access. So whether you're a lawyer, a vet, a marketeer, a geologist, or a HR manager, with this Notion process, you can turn your knowledge into a functioning business. Subscribe if you found this useful, and check out this video if you want to see a very young me talking through how I make notes in Notion. And I still use it to this day, so hopefully you'll get some value from it, and I'll see you very soon.